Thank you so much for coming.
Can you hear me now? No. Quiet. Project. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? There we go.
There it is.
So how's your morning going so far?
Lovely morning so far. Yeah, I've met some really lovely people actually. Really thoughtful.
Excellent. So I'm going to kick things off with a few questions. One of my favorite questions to talk with actors about is the role that they don't necessarily get to talk about a lot. And so obviously when you're at a convention, you're probably signing a lot of things for the Darkling or Prince Caspian, but what role has had the most impact on you that maybe you don't get to talk about a lot? It could have been one of those roles I just mentioned, or maybe something you did as a child.
I mean, I've been so lucky as a fan of fantasy and sci-fi. Like that's what I consume in my life. I read fantasy novels and I watch those kinds of movies. So I've been really lucky to do. You know, obviously my career sort of got going with Stardust and Narnia, which were like just such a dream way to start a career for me, bearing in mind that's the stuff that I love. So I would say that Stardust is one of those, even though it was a very small role. It was kind of the one that kicked off, it was my very, very first movie, so it was the one that kicked off everything. And so I actually auditioned to play the lead character in that and almost got it. And I remember them saying, you've never done any acting before, ever. So to trust you as like the lead in a big Hollywood movie is probably a lot, but we'd love to offer you a smaller role in it. So that was, and actually the director remembered that story when I bumped into him about 20 years later, and he remembered that moment. So that's one of them. And then probably the one that then sort of switched it, sort of the golden age of television sort of started, and then the one that sort of flipped it for me was starting to sort of key into my naughty side was Westworld. That was one that kind of flipped the script a bit for me to be able to stop playing such good guys, and then I had a good run of 5 or 6 years of just playing baddies.
I love that. Those are such great roles. Talking about Prince Caspian a little, what was that audition process like for that film?
Well, that was an interesting one. I was actually doing a play in London, and the casting directors I think had been casting for a while in Europe and South America, and couldn't quite find what they were looking for. I don't know what they were looking for. I still to this day don't know what I did differently from anybody else to land me that kind of like life-changing role. But they saw me in this play and asked me to audition. I think it was a lot of it was to do with my dad used to, when I was a little kid, my dad would read me stories and he would do silly voices for the different characters, which I always think is like the most kind of underrated parenting skill. So I had like a good facility with accents, so I was able to just go in and they were like, can you do like a sort of Spanish, Italian accent? I was like, well, which one? And they were like, we don't know yet. So I was kind of just sort of winging it, and then eventually I auditioned. I actually was still doing this play in London, so I finished the play on Saturday night, went to the airport, got on a plane, did the screen test, got back on a plane, came back and did the Monday night show without a night in between. But I remember in the final screen test, I picked up something and pretended it was a sword. I think it was an umbrella or something, and I sort of swung it and I hit this camera stand and it fell over. It was like a joke audition. It was like if I'd been trying to do like a Ricky Gervais extras kind of like joke audition, that it would have been that. Like I'm doing this I'm Prince Caspian, smashing. They're doing this silly accent, smashing this. Anyway, it was. And then I got a call saying I got it, which I was like, really? But it was a disaster.
Hey, it worked.
There we go.
Now you're Prince Caspian to a lot of us.
Yes.
Very nice. Well, I see we have some fan questions already lined up here, so we can start right here.
Hello.
Hello.
So when Prince Caspian released, I saw it in theaters 6 times. So I was wondering what movie you saw the most times when it came out.
Oh, that's a really good question. I'm not a big twice in the cinema person. I'm actually struggling to remember. I think I saw the movie Heat twice in the cinema. I don't know why I did that. I think I probably just wanted to go with someone and said, no, I haven't seen it. I don't know. But the movies that I've seen the most times are probably inclusive of, but not limited to, Shawshank Redemption, Back to the Future, The Princess Bride, The Karate Kid, Lord of the Rings. I've seen The Potters a lot of times too.
Not the new one.
I have not, no one has seen that one. What else? Oh, there's a movie called The Sting with Paul Newman and Robert Redford. I've seen that a lot of times. You've seen it as well. We're the two who've seen that movie. Yeah, those are the ones that are the Goonies. Those are the ones that are jumping into my. Oh, Spinal Tap. I've seen that about 20 times. Yeah.
That was a great question. Now we have another one.
Hey Ben, being that you're in a lot of movies that have a chilly environment to them, like Chronicles of Narnia, Westworld, it seems like you've got a thing for filming in the chilly environments. Do you prefer chilly England or warm LA?
Oh, I see. You mean I'm actually filming in the cold weather? Yes, I feel like I've spent half my life filming in a cold forest somewhere. I was recently filming this Stephen King show, and it was mostly, it's called The Institute, and I was mostly filming on my own in a forest at night, or in a town at night. And yeah, I don't know why I pick such cold movies. That's a very. I just sort of associate being an actor with being cold. It's just like it's one of the things no one tells you. Oh, you want to be an actor? You're going to be cold. Get yourself some good thermals.
Thank you, Ben.
You're welcome. It's a fun question.
Next up.
This is too short for me. So.
I love your kefta.
Thank you.
You look amazing.
Thank you. So out of if any of your characters were in a gunfight, so who would win? A Logan Delos, Billy Russo, or Samuel Adams?
It's really. Yes, Tampa, with your thoughtful questions. I like this. I feel like Billy Russo would have the most ammo. Samuel Adams would be dead on arrival against those two. So then I think we're left with. I have a follow-up question. Is it a planned shootout or is it spontaneous? Because that changes my answer.
They could just
Do they know?
together.
Is it like I'll meet you at 4 p.m. under the clock tower, or is it like how dare you? Those are good.
Make like a plan. I think like a planned meeting.
I was going to say if it's a planned one. Actually, no, that doesn't. If it was spontaneous, I was going to go Logan Delos because he would just go crazy and slap leather, as I say, and then I say a lot of rude words in a row. But if it's a plan, I think Billy Russo is a bit of a schemer. So if it's a plan, I'm going to go.
I feel also the Darkling would kill all of them. So.
Well, magic is cheating.
That is true.
Not magic. Small science.
Small science. Thoughtful Tampa.
He couldn't kill Kaz.
I agree with you.
Oh.
Somebody should tell Freddie Carter because he doesn't think that. He's wrong.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Oh, another Kefter. I love it.
Yes, of course. So, as a big book lover yourself,
Yes.
you've been in a lot of adaptations.
Yes.
If you could play any character in a book that you've already read, what would be your dream role?
It's a very good question. I've actually just started recently thinking about just realizing. I think I did, you know, I spent 20, I've got a, why do I want to give you such a long answer? I spent 20 years kind of like waiting for auditions to come in and then sort of trying to like win roles. And then a few years ago I started doing some music stuff and sort of making my own things. And it sort of alerted me to the possibility that you can sort of make your own art in that way, which I think that as actors you kind of feel like the power doesn't lie with you, but actually I think I've met so many people in this business that now I've just started reading lots and lots of books and trying to meet with authors as well to like find hidden gems of things that could maybe work as films or TV shows. So I've been reading a lot of like books in that way recently and kind of opening my eyes in that way. But if you're talking about things that I've already read, a lot of the things I read that I think would be really cool films or shows don't really have like roles my age in them. Are you talking about, can it be something that's already been made? I mean, like.
Yeah, why not?
I mean, I love Lord of the Rings. Aragorn would be a dream one. That would be a cool role. But yeah, I mean, so many things. You know, there are literally so many things. You know, but at the moment, yeah, I've started reading a lot of like maybe little like small like sort of small fantasy or sci-fi books that have kind of maybe got lost in the weeds a little bit in the past decade, and I'm like, wait, they missed this one. You know what I mean? Because I read all those. I read all the big ones, but somebody's always got the rights and all of that stuff. But do you have an answer? Is there something I should play that you've read that I'm missing?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. I would love to see you in like Mistborn or something. I don't know.
Oh, okay. I haven't read that one, but I'll put it on the list.
Yeah. Highly recommend. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I feel like with all these conversations about books, you need to put out like a reading list.
Yeah.
I need to start like an Oprah Winfrey book club. A Zoom book club.
Hey Ben, I am Summer from Atlanta.
Hi Summer.
So my question for you is, you've posted a lot of music videos recently, which we all love.
Yeah.
And you've done like big productions like for 11/11, and then you've done your lives from concerts, and then you've done like kind of acoustic type of videos. Do you have a favorite type of video that you prefer to be in or to produce?
Oh, okay. These questions are so good. I was very, very excited to make I still think that a lot of the videos actually have little stories to them that I've been able to do them with people that I love. And, you know, one of my oldest friends since I was 15, his name is Christian Coulson, and he plays Tom Riddle in the whichever that one is, Chamber of Secrets. And he's been one of my best friends since I was 15, and he directed the video I did for Nevermind, because he was like trying to get into directing, and so it's nice to have those like personal connections in that way. Actually, for those of you who've seen Shadow and Bone, Lee Tolman Krieger, who directed the pilot, the first episode, he actually directed my 11/11 video as well, which is why that one is so shiny and cool. So I'm really proud of that, and I got Evan Rachel Wood from Westworld to star in it with me. So I'm very proud of that. But actually, I really like the live videos a lot, and I'm about to put out this sort of deluxe version of my album with a bunch of live tracks on them, and some of them have like sort of single take videos that went with them. And I think the reason I'm proud of those is because even though I started my music career in my late 30s, almost 40, I didn't do my first ever live music show till I was 40. So I was terrified, because I knew that even if there was only 50 people there, it would end up times a million on the internet. So it was terrifying, but the fact that I sort of just did it anyway and kind of learned to not worry so much about the judgment and just did it for the joy of it, so to then be able to like release an album with live track with like live takes on it with videos to go with it, which I'm going to release in the next month or two. I'm just proud of. It took me a really long time to feel proud of myself. I think first 10, 15 years of my career, I would sort of watch stuff and be like, "What are you doing? What are your eyebrows doing?" Or whatever it is, because we all just like critique ourselves. We all have like crazy body dysmorphia and talent dysmorphia and all of that stuff. And so I think it took me a long time to really feel proud. And I think that's one of the things that I'm sort of undeniably, even if it's not your cup of tea as music, I'm so proud that I did it.
Yeah, well, we also are very proud of that.
Thank you. You're sweet. Thanks so much.
Next up.
Hello.
Hello there.
So this is my Prince Caspian book that I've had for a very long time. I would like to know what your favorite quote from the book is.
Oh, that's a very good question. I don't know. I certainly. It's all got very tangled in my head, like what's from the book and what's from the films, because it's been a very long time since I read those books. I do. I know that there's an Aslan quotation in I think it's in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, where he just says, "Courage, dear heart." And I just think, as a piece of advice and just as a lovely name to call someone, like I think he says it to Lucy, I just if I ever am asked to write something from it, I always kind of write that because it seems so hopeful and positive. But do you have a favourite?
But you're a mouse.
You're a mouse. Is that in the book or just in the?
That's in the movie.
But you're a mouse. Yeah. Love it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Fun question. Next up.
My favorite line I've ever said from anything was in Stardust, where I just went, "It's a field." Hello.
What do you think your best role was in all of your movies?
All of my movies. Best, like my favorite, or the one that I think is the best performance?
Best performance?
Ooh, that's a good question. I did a movie called. That's probably not the cool answer you're looking for, but I did a movie called Jackie and Ryan, which is a movie about like a music movie where I play like a street busker, and it was directed by Amy Kanan Mann, who's Michael Mann's daughter, who made Heat. And I was really proud of that. And then I'm really proud of Westworld and The Punisher as well, just in terms of like how people kind of got into those characters and how I was able to kind of really make them mine. They were sort of the characters that they were one way on a page, and then when I kind of filtered them through the lens of being me, they felt. I could see what I added to them to make them what they were on the screen. So probably those two.
Cool.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Next up.
Hi, I'm Madison.
Hi, Madison.
I don't know if you know this, but you're fan casted as Sirius Black as like in the Harry Potter universe.
Yes.
I was just wondering how you felt about that, because I know with me growing up with all the Harry Potter books, hearing that and seeing that before I watched the movies, you're kind of who I pictured, because that's who everyone told me about. So I was just wondering.
Yeah, I always picture Gary Oldman. But I picture Gary Oldman all the time anyway. That's nothing to do with Harry Potter. The thing that I really like about that, I found it very weird for a lot of years because I didn't really understand what was happening. People would sort of ask me to sign things, and I was like, I was in 9, not 11. And so for a lot of years I found it confusing, and then I went through a phase of being like, wait, people have sort of imagined me in this sort of whole universe thing for 15 plus 20 years now, and it's that kind of it's the commitment to it which I really kind of value and think is really, really lovely, because I a lot, most people in the world found those stories and those movies when they came out something very, really joyful and hopeful. Obviously in the last few years I found it much more a more difficult thing to talk about, and because there's obviously like a clash between some of the author's views on things and the way I see the world. So I think that has made it sadly sort of tainted this sort of beautiful mythology of how I saw those stories. But it doesn't change the fact that it's such a cool character, and you know, and to be associated with a character like that by the people who do love it is like a really beautiful thing, and it makes me happy.
Thank you.
Question next up.
That was the politest golf clap.
Hi, I'm Allison. So I had a question. You've done a lot of movies and you've done a lot of singing. Where's your passion right now? More figuring out where your music's going, or still acting?
It's a good question. Passion is exactly the right word, because that's where I think like the energy, like the energy I have in any given day, like what I want to sort of throw it out. And yeah, I think I'm quite. When I started out, it was sort of more about it was more about like wanting to be in really like creatively sound things, and I didn't really feel particularly like ambitious about it. I was just sort of surfing the wave of where it might take me. But I realized I do have ambition, and it is like really fun to make things. And I think music was like my first love. You know, kind of dancing around the living room when I was 9 or 10, pretending to be Stevie Wonder or Freddie Mercury or whoever was the person I wanted to be that day. And so I think that it just brings me a certain kind of joy, and because I like write the music that I put out, I think that kind of, it feels very personal. But I think that so I feel passionate about it, but my passion and my drive and my ambition is with acting and making film and TV shows. And still, every time like my agent sends me a script to read, I get this sort of like pinging buzz of excitement in my sternum. It's like, what if this is great, and what if I get it, and what if, you know what I mean? Yeah. And I still, 20 years in, I still feel that very intently, no matter what it is. You know, and then I start reading something, and on page 30, the character turns out to be a real jerk, and I'm just like, and I just go close it and think, well, wait for the next one. You know what I mean? So I think the answer is like my passion is always with acting, because it's my sort of career. So yeah, and I you know, that's kind of what I've spent 20 years building. So that's what I love.
Will you sing for us today?
Probably not today, but maybe if they bring a piano tomorrow. Sing without a piano is like coming on stage without my trousers on. That's no good.
Next up.
Yes. Hello again.
Hello there.
So fun fact, U.S. Caspian has been my crush ever since I was a teenager.
Thank you, I think.
So my question is, if you can't talk about this because we know how Disney is sometimes these days, I can come up with another question off the fly. But the question is, why didn't they make other films after Voyage of Dawn Treader?
Well, that's a good question. Well, Disney actually only made the first two, and then they sold the rights to Fox, who made the Voyage of the Dawn Treader. And I think it's interesting. I was talking about this in relation to Shadow and Bone. I think when you have things on such a massive scale that are very expensive to make, like Narnia or Shadow and Bone or any of those types of things, the drop off of people's kind of enthusiasm for it, because there's so many things being made between a first film and a sequel, or even a second and a third season of something. You know, if you lose kind of a third of the people that are watching it because they got excited about a new thing that came out, then it's difficult for them to sort of, I think it's sadly and boringly like financial. Like it's expensive to make stuff like that, and if not enough people are They think if they think not enough people are gonna be intrigued by it. And I think that those three, the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, Prince Caspian, and the Voyage of the Dawn Treader are like, those are the books that people know. So after that, you're in kind of unknown territory in terms of, are people going to go and watch a movie of the Silver Chair? I don't know, and it doesn't have the same characters in it anymore. It's kind of a meandering series in that way. So I think they probably just plan to just make that one, but I don't know, I'm not really qualified to answer that. But
my other question is, out of all the actors that you got to be with in Caspian and Voice Soundtrack, which one is like your favorite to work with?
So that's a very good question. My best friend still to this day, I'm the godfather of her children, is Anna Popplewell, who plays Susan. So she, I speak to her, every few days still. And so, yeah, Anna will always do that.
Thank you.
Great questions. Next up.
Hi. Yeah, that's fine. I'm LJ, and I was just wondering, in the books of Shadow and Bone, the Darkling is a much more evil character and much less likable. I was not expecting to like him as much as you played him. How much of that was your choice?
I thought I was doing it quite like it was in the book.
Maybe it was just me. I hated him in the books. He was very unfeeling and villainous.
He's a little more slippery and a little colder. Yeah, I think that you're right. There's a warmth to it, and I did think one of the first things I said was I think it has to be unclear the warmth between him and Alina as well, and the sort of question of whether she could be someone that could maybe save him. I think villains are boring unless they're either completely psychotic or potentially redeemable. And because I think the Darkling is thoughtful, he can't be completely psychotic. He has a reason for doing the things he's doing, and therefore, in my eyes, you have to make him potentially redeemable. So that's why my focus was on making us question in the first season, is he falling for this person? Maybe, a little bit. And then in the second season, it was more like, at the very end, is there a tinge of regret somewhere that maybe he was wrong about her and what she could do? So I think those are the two things we kind of added to kind of bring a little sort of crack in the facade for him.
Great question. Next up.
These are all really good questions. I've done a lot of these, and these questions are some of the best I've ever fielded.
Hello, Ben.
Hello.
My name is Rachel.
Hi, Rachel.
My question I have for you is about an animal. Which do you prefer, dogs or cats?
I was just saying how great the questions were. And then you go and ask me an impossible one. That's an impossible question to answer because I love dogs so much. They're essentially my favorite animal on the planet, but I have a cat that I'm not sure likes me very much. But I love him so much. So it's very difficult to answer. So my answer sadly has to be both.
Yes, I love both too. I'm an animal lover.
Thank goodness.
Fun question. Next up.
I'll tell you my least favorite animal right now, ants. Why do they want to be in my kitchen? I don't want them to be in my kitchen.
Hi, I'm Jillian, also known as the Mad Hatter today. So you've played a lot of villainous roles. You kind of already touched on it a little bit, but what is your process to find the vulnerability and make sure they're three-dimensional, where the fans can actually connect with them and either love to hate them or hate to love them?
Yeah, I mean, I think some of the stuff I was just saying, and then I think this goes for every character, not just villainous ones, but people are people are fascinating, and they're all so three-dimensional human beings. Nobody is just one thing. And so many movies, particularly like, fantasy, sci-fi movies, any story that you can tell through allegory is so often about the dark and light, and darkness versus light. That's why it's always represented in that way, that's why the Star Wars colors the lightsabers are the way they are. That's why Gandalf the grey, Gandalf the white, all of the light and dark, Alina, the power of the sun and the shadow, it's every fantasy story ever. But I think nobody is just one, and so I think every character I approach, I think, well, if they're strong, where are they vulnerable and weak? If they are full of goodness, where do they carry shame? Or what do they feel guilty about? Or if they are, if they are powerful, what are their weaknesses? Whatever something is, I like to think about what the opposite trait is and how does that come through the cracks, because that's how we are as people. And I think, if you just play a character that's angry, it's not interesting. But if you play a character that's angry, that is soft for a second, because of something, and then angry again, it's much scarier.
Thank you. That's a great question. I actually have a follow-up question to that. What is your character prep work like? Are you somebody who builds like playlists, does journaling, animal work? What is your kind of your thing?
It very much depends on the character. I do often have, not necessarily a playlist, but I usually have a song that I will associate with a character that I can kind of have, just run back to have in my ears to kind of feel, if I'm feeling like I'm sort of, like my balloon has been snipped and I need to like reground the character. I sometimes have a song because I find music powerful in that way. I'm a big note taker on scripts. I like to really plan, which is like not necessarily a good thing to do, but I like to really plan what I'm hoping to get out of I love words, so which words are the most important in the lines, and what I'm hoping to elicit, what emotions I'm hoping to elicit from any particular line. Every line gets an adjective, and then I have to, so I do that as I'm going through, and then I completely dismiss it. Like I literally throw it on the ground before I film it, because then you want to be engaging with someone and responsive and reactive. So, but I like to feel like I have a really good handle, and I like to learn lines as many different ways as I can. I like to sort of read them and cover it with my hand and check if I know it. I like to write them. I write them all out several times so that I can have the memory of writing it, and then I like to run them with somebody who has nothing to do with the show, just a friend. You don't even have to be an actor. I just like to hear myself saying. So I remember saying it, I remember writing it, and I remember reading it. And I think Anthony Hopkins was somebody who, on Westworld, he was somebody who I learned, he writes out scenes hundreds of times because he doesn't want to be ever thinking about what the words are. He just wants to be able to be completely present, and the words are like, he knows them as well as he knows how to sit down in a chair, and then obviously different roles, Prince Caspian was a lot of sword fighting and horse riding, and Jackie and Ryan was guitar lessons every day till my fingers were bleeding, for 3 months. It sort of depends what the role is, really.
That's a great answer.
Yeah. And sometimes the answer is much less prep than you it's just to stay as open as you can. Like on the Westworld set, everyone was kind of talking about the nature of existence and singularity, and whether we're all just living in a simulation, and what all of it means, and I was just literally there to make stupid jokes and sort of take the piss out of everyone and everything, because that was how I could stay the closest to be ready in character. That was my job, was to make a mess.
I always looking behind the veil.
My job was to not take it seriously.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah, it works. And we have another fan question.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
My name's Sloan.
Hi, Sloan.
So my question is also about the Grishaverse.
I love to read fan fiction. I definitely ship the Darkling and Elena. And I know you mentioned that you played him like he should have a little bit of a redemption ability. Do you think he should have gotten a redemption arc maybe in the end instead of having the demise that he did?
I think it's a little bit. I actually really like stories. I was talking about that movie Heat earlier. Have you guys seen that movie? Yes. I was sort of talking about, that's a movie about sort of two men who are the same type of man but got into two sides of the same coin. They got into a different type of life, but they both are like singularly focused and have no room for anything else in their lives apart from this one thing, and one happens to be crime and one happens to be like trying to find the people doing crime. But in the end, it has to be that the bad guy gets his demise. No matter how empty the life is of the good guy at the end, the bad guy, and it has to be the one who goes down. And I feel like, after, there's such a fine line in terms of motivation for the Darkling, and I think a lot of these villains are, usually their motivation is, I want to protect my own, I want to preserve my own, which is like, if you think about it in terms of like, I want to protect my family, and I want to keep my family safe, and my family have been persecuted for so long, I want my family to be the ones having the power, my people, if they're kind of, are preyed upon society, then that's a very noble thing. But as soon as it tips the balance and you're the people in power and you still are trying to preserve your own, then you become some kind of fascist dictator. So the line is actually, throughout history, kind of, it's no wonder that that's the motivation of a lot of those kind of characters, because it tips the balance from something good and noble into something demonic and as evil as you can be. So it's a very fine line between like freedom fighter and dictator, depending on where the power lies. So I think that once you tip that balance, which I think certainly the Darkling does, then we want to tell the story where hope perseveres and Elena has to win.
Thank you.
But fan fiction, fan fiction, that's a different thing. Anything can happen.
Hi, I'm Andrea, and I have read almost everything that C.S. Lewis has written, so I love it.
Wow.
Yeah. I just want to know, were you ever able to meet Douglas Gresham?
Absolutely, yes. Doug Gresham was on set a lot. Dressed as he was always dressed as a sort of a Dawn Treader ship captain. He always had riding boots on, always. He always had like a sailor's hat. That man was ready to go. One of the sweetest, kindest men out there.
Awesome, thank you.
You're very welcome. Do you have a favorite quote from the Narnia series?
Oh.
If you've read them all, you're probably much better versed than any of us.
I think it's, and I just rewatched your two movies this week, and I think the one that really hit me was when Peter says to Lucy, "Why didn't I see?" And I was referring to Aspen.
Oh yes, beautiful.
Yeah.
Love that.
Next up.
Hi, my name is Lauren.
Hi, Lauren.
I have a question and possibly a point. So speaking of fan casts, I have seen you fan casted as Cassian from the Avatar series. So maybe a future project for you.
Interesting. Yes, I read the first one of those, and I thought that the Rysand character was. I was like, that's the Darkling. A long black cloak, summons shadows, has his own thing, what steals the girl away. I was like, I've been to this.
It gets even better.
It just gets a little sexier. It just gets a little sexier than we go, a little less PG than our version, but I was like, essentially the same. I thought the Cassian was more of the Nikolai of the Shadowverse, but yes, I didn't get too deep. I didn't get too deep into the the series. I couldn't get past the fact that I was like, wait, I've already been in this.
It gets better, it gets spicier as you go along.
Oh, yeah. We love spicy. We love spicy.
My question for you, though. You travel to different locations, you're on set.
I just read that Spicy Dragon one, too, the first one.
Iron Wing? Or not Iron, wow.
Fourth Wing.
Iron Flame, yeah. Very good. The third one will tear you apart. So you're on set for long periods of time, wherever you happen to be, and you're immersed in this world. Is it difficult to come back to reality? Like, what's your process once you've finished shooting?
Sometimes it is. I think every job I've ever done, whenever you finish, you do have this sort of slightly dysphoric state for a week or two where you sort of forget how to do laundry and you're feeling sad and you're not quite sure why. I get that every time, and other people have pointed out that you do hold on to your characters a little bit as well. I remember the most vivid memory I have of that was I did a film called Killing Bono in Ireland, which is a very silly. 2 people have seen it. A very silly, 3 people. A very silly movie about a book this guy wrote about going to high school with Bono from U2, and he wanted to be in his own rock band, but they were shit. And he spends 20 years trying to be a rock star and failing epically. And it was a very silly, fun movie about his journey. But I was speaking in this Irish accent for like 8 weeks, and when I finished the movie, I got stuck. I just kind of got stuck in it because it was so fun to do it, and I felt like my jokes were hitting harder, and I felt like poetic. And I remember thinking, should I just be Irish now? Is it weird if I go on a talk show and I'm just Irish? Because it sounds cool. And I remember my dad saying, like 3 weeks later, you're still sounding a little bit Irish. And I think, and then I did a movie called By the Gun, which was like a gangster movie. You haven't seen it. Liars. I had this like neck tattoo, and I was going to meet my family for my mum's 60th birthday or something, and I came straight from my last day of filming, so I still had this neck tattoo on, and I was still kind of like, just sort of, we were going to meet for this vacation, and I was still kind of just like sitting like staring. I was still in like gangster mode, and it took like a few days to like, just remember to be ridiculous me again. So yeah, it takes a minute is the answer to your question that I took 20 minutes to answer.
We like the 20 minutes. Thank you for your answer.
Thank you, and you will be our last question.
Make it a good one. Funny is.
Thank you. So my name is Bree. I'm from Tampa.
Hi, Bree.
My favorite movie of yours was Dorian Gray. And I just loved how...
This is really lovely because it makes me feel like I've made a lot of things because everyone has like a different favorite, and that is my absolute favorite thing about conventions is that everyone wants to talk about a different thing, which makes me feel like my life has not been a complete waste, so thank you.
So Dorian's very much a character who made a big choice that affected him for the rest of his life, and I was wondering how did you think about him even years later, or what would you do different?
Good, very good. Like, what would the character do different,
or if you just made any more choices, like
I love a lot of people involved with that movie very much. Oliver Park, who directed it, is one of the sweetest men, and Colin Firth is like one of my closest best people, mentors. Just love him to the moon, and. I really enjoyed making that movie, and I was so excited to get that part. And we just thought it was going to be so cool. And for those of you who don't know, that the movie was not received as to the critical acclaim that we were expecting. I think a lot of that is some of that is to do with the changes we made that were made from the book. I think sometimes you either have to do exactly what's on the page, or like just have a seriously bold take on it. And I wish we'd gone bolder, because there was a sort of like a teaser trailer for Dorian Gray that we showed the crew halfway through making it. That was very like, there was a scene where I think either I or somebody else was like getting like Victorian like tattoo in a tattoo parlor, and there was a lot of like blood and sex and rock and roll on the soundtrack. It was like the Rolling Stones on the soundtrack, and I kind of wish we'd gone for it a bit more in that way, because I think that would have been bold. And then by the time it came out, I think the powers that be, wanted it to be a bit more for the people who might love the book of it, and a bit more traditional with the sort of orchestral music, and some of those scenes didn't make the cut, and it felt a little bit more, a little bit closer to what I think the fans of the book might have wanted. But I think it's a difficult story to film, because it's about a descent. There's very little hope in that story, and I think stories without hope are the most difficult ones to tell in terms of how you feel about it at the end. So I think if we could do it again, I don't know if the directors, producers, other actors would agree with me, but my personal take is if we could do it again, and certainly, I can only really speak for myself, but if I got to do it again, I would like to play the character a bit more wild.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
What a great way to do it.
Thanks so much for those brilliant questions. I really appreciate it. And, have a great weekend. I'll see you in the announcement.
Everybody, one time, please use your applause. You guys can get a photo with him, you can get an autograph. We're going to put a QR code right there on the screen. If you put your phone up there on that QR code, you'll be able to go down, get an autograph to you, talking with him, get a photograph with him. By the way, he can still hear you. One more time, guys. If you Now, as I told you, those people who are sitting in those blue seats, you will have to leave those blue seats. Those are reserved for the next panel. We'll be right back with John Rhys Davies.